Hey everyone, Mark Price at devslopes.com, and in this exciting video, we're going to learn how to install Android on Windows 10. So let's go ahead and go on to a browser here, and let's go ahead and just type in install Android SDK. Okay, so Android Studio. Okay, there's a download link right here. I believe they also have a different download page, so we can just click download. Download Android Studio for Windows. Accept the agreement that we just read, like so, and download Android Studio for Windows. Now this is 1.1 gigabytes, so it'll take a few minutes. And once Android Studio is done downloading, just click the .exe file and just follow the guide. Next, we could not detect a Java Development Kit JDK version 7 or newer on your system, so please browse to its file path if known, or download the following compatible JDK. Well, I don't have it yet. This is a brand new computer, so I'm going to go ahead and download it. Depending on what type of Windows system you're running, if you're running Windows 10, you should be able to select x64, otherwise x86. We must accept the license agreement here. Okay, it's accepted. Let's go ahead and download x64 on Windows. And this will take a moment to download. Once it's done downloading, click it to run it. And we're going to install it. Just follow the prompts. And that's it. We'll close it. Let's go back to Android Studio. Let's press back and then click next. In fact, we can close out of the process here and just load it up again so it can see if it can detect the Java Development Kit. So we're going to go into Downloads and Android Studio Bundle. We're going to try it again. And just follow the prompts again. You can save it wherever you would like. Program files, Android Studio, that's the location of Android Studio itself. And this is the Android SDK, and in my case, it's users mark app data local Android SDK. And we're going to install it. Okay, so installation complete. Click next. Start Android Studio on close. Yes, let's do that. You can import your settings from a previous version of Studio. No, I do not have a previous version of Studio. Allow access. So now it's going to download the different SDK platforms that are available for Android. So this will take a while as well. You can look at the details. The following SDK component was not installed, Android 23. Retrying. You may run into problems like this. It happens. When it's all done, we can click Finish. Cool. And so there is Android Studio and it's installed. Let's just go ahead and click Start a New Android Studio Project just to make sure everything's up and running as we would expect it to be. We'll just leave the defaults here, which is fine. Okay, so let's talk about this here. So you can select phone and tablet, and there's different API versions that you can select. And if you notice, the higher the API version, the newer the features you're going to have, but the less support it's going to have for older devices. So if you notice here, by targeting API 19 and later, your app will run on 70.9% of the devices. The higher we go, this one does nothing. There we go, Lollipop at 18.4 devices. So only 18% of devices can run with that Lollipop there. So it's important to pick an API when you're creating apps that covers most of the devices that you want to cover. So Jelly Bean's always a safe choice. Okay, and you can of course select the different applications that you're going to need if you want a TV or Android wearables, etc. So I'm going to click Next. I'm going to select Blank Activity, and I'm going to use this main activity it gives us, and I'm going to click Finish. Let's allow this through the firewall. Okay, and we've successfully installed Android Studio, and it's going to give us tips on startup here. I'm going to close this tip box. I'm going to expand the Studio to be full screen. You're going to want to go over here to the SDK Manager. Okay. So this shows that we have Android SDK 6.0 installed. But if you notice here, some of these other ones are not installed going down to these different API versions. So if we want to deploy to those different API versions, we need to install those API level SDKs. And there's also the brand new Android N preview, which we can test out and install as well too. So you're going to want to go down here, probably to API 18, and install those, because we don't really need to build to anything less than that. So we're going to want to install those, and we can just click Apply, and it's going to install those. It has to download them and then install them. This will take, well, this could take a very long time. So they are all done installing. So let's go ahead and click Finish. Great. And click OK. So now we've installed the different SDKs. This is an important step in the process. Don't forget to do what we just did. Don't skip over it. And let's go ahead and look over here at the AVD Manager, Android Virtual Device Manager. Okay, this is where you can actually create virtual devices that you can test on, or the emulators. So you can test your apps on these emulators. And so you can create a virtual device. And now that you have those SDKs installed, there's more options for you to install on here on these different devices, such as Nexus 6, Nexus X, Nexus S, etc. So that's why it was important to install those SDKs. And here's our devices that we can create virtual emulators for, but we'll do that in a later video. So as of this point, you should have Android installed and working. And again, I can't vouch for you if you're not using Windows 10, because that is all I'm using here. So you may want to look on Google and Stack Overflow if you have any problems installing it on a different Windows operating system. But that's it for now. Mark Price at devslopes.com, installing Android. And remember, to get your free live help, go to devslopes.com and click on the chat room. We have thousands of students in there helping each other out. Also click on the forums. This is where you can search for answers to your code problems, and you can also post your own issues. So head on over now.